Welcome back to The Leading Edge. I am Mindy Odlin, and this is a very special presentation of The Leading Edge. Our guest today, best-selling author Eckhart Tolle. We've been talking about prayer, about presence, and I know many people from our audience today. We are here at the Silent Unity Chapel at Unity Village. They've been asking questions. We have many people from our Unity FM online community asking questions, and this is one that I just really jumped out to me because it's one that I want to know the answer to too. And this is from our audience today. It says that they were watching an interview with, or listening to an interview with Barbara Walters on NPR this morning, and she says that she always asks people, what's the biggest misconception that people have about you? Like, I would love to know. What is I get to be Barbara Walters here for a moment. What is the biggest misconception that people have about you?
Well, there are probably different kinds of, depending where people are coming from. But I believe one is that they see me as special or enlightened. So there's a form identity that's created and projected that is the opposite of, almost the opposite of the reality. Because the reality of who you are is by relinquishing any kind of conceptual identity and any sense that you as this form is special, that you are more special than somebody else. Enlightenment, that somebody is enlightened, is itself a contradiction. Enlightenment means that the sense of self, of I, the erroneous, the false, mind-made I, has become transparent or given way to the light of consciousness that shines through. The light of consciousness is nobody's achievement or possession. So even to say, I have achieved enlightenment is a big error. And so it
means you haven't?
Nobody achieves enlightenment. It's only when the self that claims enlightenment gets out of the way or becomes at least transparent enough so that it doesn't cause problems anymore, then that which is beyond the form shines through, and that is the power. It's not my power. The misconception is that this is my power. And of course it's happened sometimes even to people who have touched that and have that power flow through them. At some point their mind came back and identified with it, and they've got another conceptual identity as me as very special. And then the power becomes obscured again. It's like the clouds are coming back and obscure the sun. And the clouds are, of course, the stream of thinking, and then you have a new conceptual identity. And it's more likely to happen to spiritual teachers who are surrounded only by disciples or followers, and so they project certain things onto the teacher. Is going continuously bombarded with projections. You are the greatest. You are so. And then after a few years, some remnant of egoic consciousness gets triggered, and he begins to believe, he or she, that this is true. So it's continuously going back into the being nobody in particular. For example, being a spiritual teacher is not an identity as I see it. People believe this is my identity, but it's only an identity, it's only a function while the so-called teaching happens. Even the teaching doesn't come from this form, it's a process. If there was nobody here, I would have nothing to say. The words come out because there's a space here that pulls out the words. I don't come here with some accumulated knowledge and this is what I'm going to say. Nobody here, nothing, it is complete, just a space, I don't know anything. So, and then when I go away from here, the function is relinquished, The important thing is then not to carry the conceptual identity of me being a spiritual teacher, because then I would still be a spiritual teacher when I'm walking around the supermarket, and I would feel special. So always coming back to I am the space for this. So it's no thing, no body in particular. And that's the main. So the misconception is the projection of specialness. That's how it is. And so sometimes people when they come to talk, they feel an enormous arising inside of aliveness and presence, and they might think it comes from here, but it can only come from within them. Perhaps something that's here can pull it out, but it must be in you if you can sense it. Whatever you feel is there, and the other person must also be in you. For example, stillness. In order to be aware, for example, that there's silence in this room, for a moment you have to be silent inside. It's only the silence that can be aware of the silence, or the stillness which can be aware of the silence outside. If you have no stillness, you don't even know that there's silence, because there's mental noise. So the strange thing is the specialness that's the specialness as opposed to others who are not special. That's the delusion. I do feel special, but I know that everybody is equally special. Mm-hmm. So there's a sense of there's something this life that I am is precious, and it's everybody's identity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You mentioned yourself, the role of spiritual teacher, and I noticed in today's Daily Word, the Daily Word has this uncanny ability to provide the perfect word on the perfect day. And so here we are with Eckhart Tolle, the author of A New Earth, awakening to your life's purpose. And the Daily Word today is purpose. And it says, I love what I do, and I do it with purpose. As I reflect upon my talents and interests, which is what you were talking about, that you are a spiritual teacher, that is a role you play. The activities that bring me joy and fulfillment, I realize that these are the things that give shape to my purpose in life, and each one is a gift from God meant to be developed and shared. Each new day, I welcome the opportunity to put my spiritual gifts into practice, to grow them and expand the blessing that they are. I confidently share my talents with the people around me with commitment and enthusiasm. When I love what I do and I do it with purpose, I am a blessing to the world. I am a unique and divine expression of spirit. My life is filled with purpose and meaning as I develop and share my spiritual gifts with others. So could you talk about what is a spiritual gift? Because it does seem like there are those of us who are spiritual teachers, there are those of us who are healers, there are those of us who nurture in different ways. How does that tie into what you were saying?
Well, as I say in the book, I see there's your inner purpose and your outer purpose. Outer purpose varies from person to person. It's to do with your activity, your outer function in this world. Inner purpose is primary. It's the foundation for a satisfying and fruitful outer purpose. So inner purpose is the same for everybody. Inner purpose, and of course the subtitle to the book is Awakening to Your Inner Purpose.
Yes. Awakening to your life's purpose.
Awakening to your
you
life's...
You read this, right?
The subtitle actually was the idea of the editor.
Oh, really?
He called and said, I've had a great idea, and said, Awakening to Your Life's Purpose. That's it.
That's good.
Awakening to your life's purpose already contains the answer, because your life's purpose, your inner purpose, your primary purpose is awakening.
Yes. One of the things that Reverend Paul Hasselbeck always says at the end of his program is to go out and be the best Christ you can be.
Yes. Yes.
Our primary purpose.
Yes. The primary purpose is to be here as the awakened consciousness, present, conscious, and let that energy of, which is spiritual energy, which is a very fine vibration. Ultimately, all energy is one, but the spiritual is the finest vibration. To let that flow into this world through whatever you do. And what you do is secondary. Primary is always how you do what you do. So it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to find something great, some great enterprise, creating some great structure in this world. Some people will do that. But the primary thing is what energy flows into every little thing you do. And even if you're engaged in some great enterprise, even if your name is Oprah, for example, every great thing consists of 100 little steps that you take every moment. Even for Oprah, at some point she steps onto the stage. 1 step, 2, 3, walks to a chair, sits in a chair, looks at the person, a question comes, spontaneously, enormous ability, she has to tune into the other person, and then the right question comes, the funny comments come spontaneously, all these things that developed in her over 30 years of practice. And so that's one example. And many people look for some significant life purpose, but the first question is, have you made every little action that you take significant? There's no point in looking for some great abstract significant thing, what's the great purpose of my life, and you neglect to pay attention to what is at hand, whatever you are doing now, in search for something significant and believing that this moment is not significant, but you're just looking for the significant thing. And then, of course, you're not going to find it, because you're neglecting the very foundation for all significance, which is this moment. So, are you getting this moment right? Is this, whatever you're doing at this moment, done with presence, with attention? Are you honoring this moment? And if you're honoring this moment, even if you don't know exactly where you want to go, if you honor this moment and see this moment as primary, then it's much more likely that if it is your destiny to create something out there in this world, it will come much more quickly. Even if you're doing something at this moment that you perhaps wouldn't want to do for the rest of your life. Maybe you've got a job that doesn't pay well and is repetitive, and yet this is what is now. You can be, if you're in a negative state there, at this moment doing that, it's much less likely that you will be finding your true life purpose. So always come to make the present moment your friend. That's the foundation. If you're friendly with the present moment, then you're friendly with life. Then life comes and will offer you whatever is most appropriate for you, which may have all kinds of things, working with people, working with plants, working with animals, working with structures, working with art, working with writing, whatever it is, in whatever form. And you may use perhaps already what you are doing, but as you bring presence into it, it becomes empowered and deeper. Let's say you're a hairdresser and you're quite good, but then suddenly you realize how important the present moment is, and you pay attention to every moment, the person who is there, the hair, the doing, the words come, which means what you do will become not only very good, that you're a very good hairdresser, it means another dimension will come into what you do when people come to you.
Do you ever get tired of being so aware? I mean, when I think about every step, being present with every step, with every snip of the scissors, it sounds like it'd be kind of exhausting.
There's not perhaps an equal intensity in all throughout your day. It's when you're engaged.
Just zone out.
Well, of course, one gets tired sometimes, and there's a point at which, although you endeavor to live above thought, always a moment comes late at night, or sometimes for me in the afternoon when it's time to take a nap. A moment comes around 5 o'clock. Oh. When my level of consciousness falls below thought. And there's a little nap, and then wake up again. Oh, and then it's fine. Then I go about things you've had. So sometimes, at the moment, I don't have television, so that doesn't work. Sometimes we watch films, we rent DVDs.
Well, that was the next question. Someone writes, they said, you are such an enlightened soul. I'm very grateful for your awareness, your wisdom, and your willingness to share your insights with the world. Just out of curiosity, what do you do for fun? Do you have any hobbies?
Well, it doesn't sound very interesting. I like walking out in nature every day. I go for a walk in the forest every day when I'm at home with a dog. That's fun. My hobby for a long time was photography. Mm-hmm. And at the moment I'm trying to switch from, I'm always late with technology. At the moment I'm trying to switch from the old-fashioned film photography, which I know very well, to digital, which I don't know anything about. But I have a little digital camera now. I'm trying to take photos and master that.
Capturing moments.
What?
You're capturing moments.
Yes. What I capture most, what I do with the camera when I use it, I walk around nature with the camera and I look, there's no thought involved, mm-hmm. and I look at there's little, relatively insignificant things usually, leaves, trees, flowers, blades of grass, stones, whatever, or clouds, and just look, and at some point there's something that is particularly conveys the sense of divine presence that's there, the sacredness of nature. And then I walk around a bit more, looking, and then there's something else. So it's not so much to capture something for the past, it's to capture the sacredness. I'm not a master photographer, it's a joyful thing to do, that's all.
Can you email us some pictures? We'll put them up on the website. One, with that digital camera, I'll help you.
There are a few pictures in a little booklet that comes with a DVD of my Findhorn retreat.
Oh, very nice.
And that has some photos that I took of nature.
Lovely, lovely. Well, speaking of pictures, one thing that many of our listeners are talking about, and there's many books coming out on the topic of treasure maps, the idea of taking pictures of things that we want to manifest and putting them up in front of us. This question is from one of our listeners on our online community, who says, my husband and I happened to be starting a treasure map when we first started reading your book, and I found it really difficult to continue the treasure map, sort of announcing to the universe all the things that I hope to see manifest in my life, and at the same time, stay in the present moment. Do you think the idea of treasure mapping is inconsistent with being in the now moment?
I don't think it is, because the only time when you can practice it is in the now. Mm-hmm. But the question is whether you have found the foundation for all power in the present moment, or whether you are still looking to the future for some kind of self-fulfillment, for the future to finally give you the sense that you have arrived, that you are somebody, that you are being recognized, that finally you can feel at some point when you have the house and the car and this and that finally you can feel abundant when that comes, because right now you're not feeling abundant. Why are you not feeling abundant? Because you are denying the now. So you have to first find the foundation for abundance. Abundance has very little to do with the number of things in your life. Abundance is the state of being. Abundance arises out of life itself, the being of life, which life is being. The I am. Being and I am is the same thing, it just sounds like different words, because I am is the first person singular of the infinitive to be, for those who have missed grammar at school. The infinitive is to be, the first person singular is I am, so it's the same word. So when we talk about being, we're talking, how do you experience being? You can only experience being as the I am. And the I am is the foundation for all abundance. It's the realization of the fullness of being in yourself, which has nothing to do with the number of objects in your life. So you find the fullness of being. Jesus pointed to it when he said, I want you to have life, and I want you to have the fullness of life. In some Bibles it's translated as abundant life. I want you to have abundant life, he said. Now, if you look deeply, you will see very soon that he is not talking about many possessions. He is talking about the sense of the fullness of being in yourself. Not shopping malls, not that he wasn't prophesying the arrival of shopping malls, but finding that present moment, the deeply satisfying sense of beingness that comes when you enter the present moment fully and become friendly with now.
Yes.
Go deeply into now. That's the vertical dimension of life, the now, which to most people doesn't exist even. They only know the horizontal. Past, future, things. Where am I? Where can I find myself? I need to attain this. And then they might say, I want to make a treasure map, and then finally I can attain that. And so often, of course, people are not successful quite often with their treasure maps, because there is the erroneous belief that they need to achieve something that's over there in the future, that they need to get that in order to feel the fulfillment and the fulfilled sense of self. And even if they do get what they want, it will still not lead them to the fulfillment. Even if they do get the house and the car, they may sometimes do, even if they do get it, but they haven't found the fullness of life that can only be found in the now, then for a little while they are elated. I made it. And then they sit there in the big house and say, okay, what now? Where do I go from here? Okay, what do I need to invite lots of people so that they can reaffirm to me that I'm somebody, that my house is bigger than theirs. And so you do that for a while, and then that doesn't work either. And so you come to an emptiness when you, often it has happened with people who have achieved materially what they wanted to achieve, and yet they still feel empty. And sometimes it's at that point, either they become even more miserable, or they begin taking drugs just to don't feel the pain anymore of the unfulfilled life. And you can't fool yourself anymore when you have achieved materially almost everything, and you're still unhappy. Where can you go from there?
Yes.
You can't fool yourself that even more houses would make you finally happy. Well, some try even that. So the foundation is the present moment and the fullness of life now. And so when you feel the fullness, and then you look at a treasure map, you are now, the approach is very different. You are playing. There's a playfulness in the world of form. You're playing because you are in this world of form, and part of being in this world of form is to interact with the forms of life. And why not try this out, see if I can manifest, not to find some fulfillment, but as a joyful, playful game with form. And then you look at your treasure map and you feel, whatever it is you are looking at, the house, you feel totally fulfilled already in that moment. Obtaining the house couldn't possibly lead you to greater fulfillment. This happened to me. I drew spontaneously a picture, a circle on a sheet of paper before I ever wrote a book, and that said, book. It came to me one day spontaneously with colors. I drew a circle, book, and then I wrote, this was not so much me wanting to write a book as something in me expressing what it wanted, the consciousness. And I wrote, translated into many languages, changing the lives of hundreds of thousands of people.
Millions?
Millions, I didn't know that. And so it all came to pass. I had completely forgotten about this sheet of paper. And a few years ago, I unpacked things that had been forwarded from England, a trunk. And I looked through it and I saw this old paper. And there was the power of now. And I looked in amazement. It had all come to pass. But I didn't want, this was so much a reality, this sheet of paper, that I already felt the fullness of, and the power of now. I felt it already there. I didn't feel any greater or better when the book was out. It was the same feeling. So if you can feel the power, the unmanifested power, and then you can look at certain forms and play with forms. What flows into the manifestation is the unmanifested power, then expresses itself in many ways. One of the ways in which the unmanifested power, the one life, can express itself and wants to express itself, because it is a universe that creates form continuously on so many levels, billions of life forms. So on that level, the universe wants to experience form. So you are part of that. You can take part in that game. The universe this is the game of creating forms and enjoying forms. And so you can do that if the foundation is the present moment. And then you are not dependent on your creation, and you realize, of course, whatever you create, at some point it will leave you again, or you leave it. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. So you're not dependent on the outer form to give you a sense of fulfillment. Only then can you be successful at truly manifesting. So that's the finding the power first within yourself. In this world, there are two movements. One is the outgoing movement of the universe, which is the creation of form. Greater and greater differentiation. The universe, they say, they may be right on some level, not on the deepest level. It started from a 0 point of oneness. The astronomers say there was a big bang, and the 0 point, and nobody can say what was there before then. Before then, they say there was nothing. Very strange. So there was, out of the no-thingness came the thingness of the world, the multitude of things, what the ancient Chinese texts call the 10,000 things. They didn't realize at that time it's billions of things. Yes. And so there's the outward movement of the universe, the creation of form, and the wanting to experience the form. But there is another movement in the universe, which is the return to the source. The two movements are there. The forms go out, but there's also, and every human being has the two movements inside him or her. One is the outward movement into creation, and one is the return movement home to the source, to the oneness, which in its essence is the spiritual dimension. The spiritual dimension is the return movement of the universe, and the universe also wants that. It wants to know itself in its essence. It not only wants to create forms and lose itself in the forms, that's part of the game. It also wants to find itself after having lost itself. It wants to find itself and know itself deeply for the first time. And this actually is happening through the human form, and probably through other forms in the universe, the same movement, because as above, so below. So you are an expression of this universal, cosmic, twofold movement, the outer and the return home, the outgoing and the return home. And you are in between these two. So don't lose yourself in the outgoing. That's a great danger, and this has happened to a large part of humanity. They lost themselves in the outgoing cycle. But ultimately, even that the universe wanted, because nothing happens that the universe doesn't want. So you lose yourself in the outgoing until finally the outgoing becomes so problematic and so differentiated, and then the return starts back to the source. And then you can actually live balancing the two, connected to the source, and this, I believe, is the new earth, a new reality that's being created in this dimension. And humans can create that, which is create form without losing their connectedness with the essence of being, with God. And then that could lead to a kind of dimension that is would be absolute bliss, also temporary, nothing lasts, but this would be a beautiful dimension when on the planet humans live who create things, but don't lose their connectedness with being. So then you could say it's conscious creation rather than unconscious creation.
Yes. Well, our guest today is Eckhart Tolle. Eckhart, thank you so much for being with us this hour on The Leading Edge. I'm Mindy Odlin. If you feel nourished and uplifted by this program or any of our programs on Unity FM, we invite you to make a contribution and help us continue to be this voice, to bring this voice of truth and awakening to the planet Earth. And we thank you, Eckhart, for being here. More information is available online at www.eckharttolle.com. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of The Leading Edge and for being a part of the voice of an awakening world. God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Eckhart Tolle. Thank you.